Broadcasting to you from our North Catholic Studios in Cranberry Township with our winter sports update. As we go through about halfway through the winter sports season, my name is Alex Brown.
And I'm Ryan Berry.
And together we're your hosts for this podcast on North Catholic Athletics. And let's start off with basketball, Ryan.
Yeah, boys basketball. They've already clinched the playoff spot.
Last time we were talking about they started the season.
Yeah, well, now they're 8-0 in conference, 14-1 overall. Let's look at some of those big games over the month of January and see how they got to where they were. Only one loss at this time, so yeah, recapping some pretty good games, some big wins over higher divisions schools. First one is the Don Graham Classic, a 67-59 win over Pine Richland. It wasn't quite as, I guess, nail-biting fashion as the last time we played Pine Richland with that half-court buzzer beater shot that almost made it. That almost made a Sports Center, didn't it?
Almost did. Ryan Fezco back in the day. That was a long time ago. But now we got this game, which was another classic and a big win for the Trojans over the rival
Biggest one
Rams.
of the year up to that point. North Catholic, I think they were ranked like 4th or 5th going in that game in the state. Apparently it was a little bit lower than that, but it's still a really good win. I mean, when you're a 4A school playing a 6A school, any win you get is a big win.
And they beat them by 8.
Yeah, it wasn't. I think it was more dominating throughout the game.
I think because the problem that North has had this year on the basketball side for the boys is that they get up to big leads in the second and third quarter, and then they start to break down a little bit in the fourth quarter, let teams get a little bit closer, and then they finally close them out last 3 minutes. And that's been a recipe for success. And then after that, Ryan, they beat Knock 80-42. I mean, they're putting up a lot of points each and every game.
Yeah, I mean, another one, 84 points the next one against Freeport. Then they had their first hiccup of the year, which was I guess you could say a bad loss to Central Catholic, lost by, I think, double digits.
15.
15 to them. Which isn't good. They're a team you think you can compete with, but they bounce right back. The next game had a nice win over Deer Lakes, 82 points, again scored. And then me and Alex said our first broadcast of the year was the 65-50 win over Burrow, where they just played their type of basketball. Pressuring on the defensive end of the floor. That was one of their best defensive performances of the year. They weren't able to pull away and score as much as they would like to, but I think Burrow tried to slow the pace down a lot in that game. And that was our second broadcast together, first basketball broadcast together, so that was a fun one.
It really was.
And, after that, the next day, after a tiring game on Friday night, they had a win over Seneca Valley, who was another one of the top teams. They beat Pine Richland and North Allegheny this year, and so that was a good win. That was by double digits. That was a dominating win again.
13 points, 70-57 at Seneca Valley. And they just put up big wins in non-conference games as well because they're beating the teams they have to beat in conference. As you said, they're 8-0 in conference, but they've only lost one out-of-section game in the other 7.
14-1 overall.
And in the other 7 section games they played, they're 6-1. And they're not playing bad non-section teams, as we've seen. They're playing good teams.
Let's take a look at the standings. As you know, the North has clinched a playoff spot already, but they're 8-0 in their conference. The division, their first place, obviously, 8-0. Second place is Burrell, 6-2. Both of their losses are to North Catholic. But then let's look at some of the other divisions. Quaker Valley is right now the highest-ranked team in 4A. I think they're ranked 7th in the state, and North is ranked 8th as of now. They're 9-0 in the conference, 12-0 overall. They're another one high-scoring teams. North Catholic averages 77. Quaker averages 72. Quaker's a little bit better on the defensive end, averaging only giving up 45 points a game, while North gives up 55. But I'd like to see those two teams play, but unfortunately, they don't play in the regular season, but they'll definitely meet up in the playoffs at some point, and that'll be a fun matchup. Lincoln Park is always good. They're 9-3. I don't think they're as dominant as they were last year, but they're still one of those teams where you have to watch out for.
Absolutely. Lincoln Park, they've played the Trojans the last 2 years in the finals of WPIALs.
Yeah.
Back in 2A, back in 3A. And now this year, they're both up in 4A. And will they meet again? That remains to be seen. But wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, and Bell Vernon is the last one. They're 14-1 overall, 8-0 in conference with an identical record to North Catholic. But yeah, North has I guess you wouldn't say easy division, but I guess it looks easy because of how good North is playing, and they don't have that many challenges the rest of the year. I think Freeport might be a little bit of a tougher one. Norman's an out-of-conference game. Those are always a little bit tougher, but yeah, so I think North is already clinched a playoff spot. Now they're fighting for the highest seed they can get for the playoffs.
Absolutely. They're going to be fine in conference, too. They're going to clinch the section championship as well. With just another win over, you got Keystone Oaks and you got Deer Lakes later in the year as well. You got a couple more division games in there, but they should be fine the rest of the year. And the last game of the season is on Valentine's Day, February 14th, and that is against Bishop Canevin. Bishop Canevin's actually been pretty darn good this year, and that'll be a good matchup for them. But senior night's coming up. I believe that's on the 8th. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but I think it's against Freeport.
Yeah, that's it.
It's against Freeport, and the girls play on that same night, which is going to be a doubleheader. So if you're able to go to that game, that's going to be a big night for North Catholic basketball for both teams as we honor our seniors that night. But if we want to talk about why they're so successful, Ryan, why is the boys team successful this year? And I think it stems from our conversation we had with Coach Rocco at the beginning of the year. But what's that kind of style of play that's really been able to propel them to this 14-1 record?
Well, he calls it pressure on both sides of the ball, pressure on offense, pressure on defense. And, of course, they press more than any team in 4A. But I think the way I would describe it is they play with speed, and it just catches teams off balance, and they can build their leads, as we said in the broadcast, from 2 points to 10 points in a matter of 30 seconds. They can get that in because it all stems from the pressure that they give. Pressure on offense, pressure on defense. They press, create turnovers, and they play so fast. As soon as they get the rebound, they don't even really have a specific set point guard. Whoever rebounds it, passes it up, or dribbles it up the court. Ben Tomer, the center, was actually dribbling up. I remember, I think, one possession. So whoever gets the ball, they trust, bring it up the court, or find an option and get it up the court, and they play fast. They shoot a lot of threes. Teams try to slow them down like Burrow did, but North is still able to get a 15-point win even without scoring even close to their average points per game, Alex.
Absolutely. And I think it's also another combination of unselfish basketball. Because we look at that stat sheet, you can just tell from just looking at the stat sheet that every night it's somebody new that's taking a charge or somebody different. It's not the same guy every night because they know their role on the team. Because Coach Rocco said, we want pilots flying planes, and we want tank drivers driving tanks. And we don't want tank drivers flying planes. Everyone needs to know their role on their side. And Ben Tomer, in particular, has been very good at knowing his role this year and knowing when he needs to score, when he needs to step up, or else when they need him in a big defensive role, in a big passing role. Because he's great with the assists, he's great with the big dunks when he needs one, the blocks on the defensive end, and they know what their roles are.
Yeah, and interesting thing that I think a lot of people don't really notice is that you can't just judge if somebody had a good game on the stat sheet. There's so many things that players do.
That's true, yeah.
that make them one of the best players on the team, like hustling, work ethic, rebounding, hustling the loose balls, and just making the simple plays, communicating. They don't show up on the score sheet, but it's one of the most important things that you can do as a player.
Absolutely, and that's the same in all levels of sports too. We talk about that in hockey. We talk about that in football. You just make the little plays that don't show up on the scoreboard. That's what wins you games.
Yep, and as you mentioned about different players stepping up each game, in Deer Lakes, Max Hurry led the charge as sophomore with 36 points. In the next game against Burrell, Andrew Madeline takes forward with 37 points.
And that is the perfect segue to what we have next, as we will play to you our post-game interview with Andrew Madeline after his 37-point performance over against Burrell that put the Trojans in the driver's seat of the section with the win 65-50. Here it is.
With Andrew Madeline, the best player on the court tonight for the Trojans and for both teams overall. Andrew, thank you for joining us.
Oh yeah, of course.
Fantastic game.
Thank you.
Andrew, what was clicking for you? You were so hot on three, 6 at the beginning for three. What was clicking for you tonight?
Well, we just came out. We got shots up before the game. We got shots up after school, so that really helped us out.
You guys are able to get a lot of pressure and press, and that can kind of wear teams down throughout the course of the game. How does that give you guys an advantage in the games that you played this season?
That's our goal because we have a really solid team, and we like to wear teams down. We like to get into their legs early, so we like to put the pressure on the whole game. So, yeah, that gets it done for us.
Burrell was able to battle back a little bit in that fourth quarter, got down to 9 points. That's when you started to turn it up back again. What was Coach saying to you there that really flipped that switch back in your favor?
He was saying just be solid. We got to just be ourselves the whole time, yeah. He wanted us to switch those screens more, so we weren't getting through those screens, and we made that switch to switch the screens, so that helped us out a lot.
Thanks, Ethan. That's all we got for you. Good game.
Oh, yeah.
Good luck to us this
Thank
evening.
you, guys. Thank you.
That's Andrew Madeline. 37 points in this game.
You just heard from Andrew Madelon after his 5 for 5 first half 3-point shooting and his 37 total points in that game. It was a great interview. Look forward to announcing their senior night game on February 8th, along with the girls' game as well. Now let's move on to girls' basketball, because they've been on a roll lately. It one bad loss, but in the span that we're going to be talking about, but they had some nice wins in that span as well. Starting with a 76-53 win over Pine Richland.
And that was an absolute domination on that Don Graham Classic. And both teams, we talked to the boys in their game too. They beat up Pine Richland by not by as much as the girls did. Beat them by 8. The girls beat them by 23. 23 points over the Pine Richland.
Over a high
girls.
division team. I mean,
Is.
You look at this North Catholics 3A, Pine Richland 6A, and
That's
beating
tremendous.
a team by that much. That's a high ahead of you. I mean, it just shows you how much these divisions really mean. I mean, they don't mean very much when you're 3A and 6A when there's these differences, especially in boys basketball too. North Catholic's ranked 8th in the state as a 4A team. They're ranked ahead, and they've beaten 6A teams this year. So it just goes to show you that divisions don't really mean much. It just means that the school size is really smaller. But other than that, I mean, the talent level is there for all these schools that are lower divisions compared to the higher division schools.
Absolutely, and they're in the same position as they were last year in terms of their success in the regular season, which they've just been absolutely remarkable. 7-0 conference, 10-4 overall, and then they beat up Mohawk this year in a rematch of their Whippeal final from last year. And just a little bit of payback. It was nice to get that over Mohawk because they beat them up 70-33. But they've been scoring a lot of points this year, and they're a high shooting offense, aren't they, Ryan?
Yeah, they are. They shoot a lot of three-pointers. They lost a little bit of the inside presence because of Ava Walker tearing her ACL. She was their inside person. She got a lot of big rebounds. She got a lot of. She was a real inside threat. So they're doing a lot of driving kick shots. They drive the lane and just find the open woman, I would say, man on the outside. Yeah. But and they hit those shots. They shoot them at an extremely high rate. They average 57 points per game, which is among the best in. It's best in Section 1 of Class 3A, not the best in 3A. It's up there. I think second best in 3A, yet behind South Park, who averages 63 points per game. Yeah, but they're as close to clinching the playoffs as they can be without clinching them right now at 7-0 in the conference and 10-4 overall. A couple more wins, and they'll be clinched for the playoffs. To add to Coach Rotman's great tenure here at North.
Tremendous, absolutely tremendous tenure. And speaking of Mohawk, they play them again tonight, which is Thursday the 27th. So they play them at Mohawk tonight. So that should be another nice win for the Trojanettes. But when you look at their team, Ryan, we talked at the beginning of the year to Coach Rotman and a couple of the players about leadership. And we talked to her about Elena Rocco. And last year, she wanted her to step up to more of a leadership role this year. And leaders on any team, that's so important, especially when we get the younger leaders too.
Yeah, there's different types of leaders. Not every leader is a vocal leader. There's a lot of leaders who lead by example, just lead by the way they play. And there's always vocal leaders who at least tell people and try to guide people, but you can guide people with your play or by your actions. Like, oh, hey, this person's staying after practice shooting free throws. Why don't I do that next practice? And so just kind of guiding the younger kids and underclassmen. It's not even really underclassmen or upperclassmen. It's more I guess, more experienced players guiding the lesser experienced players.
And Daisha Lewandowski is definitely one of those people, too. As we talked to her at the beginning of the year, too, about how she's really the captain of this team in terms of that leadership and getting that basket really when you need it. And that's another example of leadership. That's a great way of saying you got to be there all times. And be there for your team when in the highs and lows, because they've had some highs and they've had some tough losses this year. They had a tough loss to Oakland just before Christmas, 69-49, and that was a loss where you might get down a little bit, because that's a big rivalry game for the Trojanettes. But after that, they came back and they absolutely crushed Riverside. 2 days later, 63-16. 16 points they gave up.
You always feel bad
in a
for
high
those
school
teams
game.
that you play after a loss, because they have that extra motivations after a loss. Like, hey, we're not going to take it easy on this team. We're going to go out. We're not going to stop scoring. I mean, maybe if they would have beaten Oakland a couple days before, they're like, okay, let's put some of the backups in, just rest a little bit. But they want to get their reps. Like, we just lost. We got our butts kicked a couple days ago. Well, let's just keep the starters in and see practice new rotations, new sets, stuff like that. Be able to, I guess, the next game or next time they play a team at the talent level that Oakland has, be able to beat them next time.
Then they also played North Allegheny and Chartiers Valley after that. They had a couple losses there, lost both those games. But then they won the next 5 games, and they're 6-1 in the last 7. So they've really turned on the Jets here as we start going into the new year. And the rest of the way, they have some tough games coming up here, Ryan. But on senior night, as we talked about earlier, the girls will be playing Beaver Falls at 6, and the boys will be playing Freeport at 7:30. And it's going to be a great night, and we encourage you all to come out for that game. For both those games, it's going to be a good time, Ryan.
Yeah, now let's move on to boys wrestling, Alex. Some good basketball talk there. Boys wrestling team, they got their first 2 wins, 2 in a row. First one since 2015 for the wrestling team.
Mr. Lyles coaching them to a couple of wins.
Yep, 42-18 over South Allegheny and a 33-27 win against Riverview to go 2-1 in the meet Wednesday, January 19th.
And they've had some really good wrestlers this year stepping up for the team. They have Daniel Long, who's been very good this year, 6-4. Scott Huffmeyer's also done very well this year, and they got Patrick Sinan.
Yeah, he's been the top wrestler this year. He's also a baseball commit for University of Pittsburgh Bradford, but he's 6-2, has the best win percentage on the team of those that have at least played more than 3 games. Alex Lopez, a freshman, has 1-0, but he's only played 1 match, so I don't know if you could kind of compare his win percentage. But 6-2 is a great record for North Catholic. He's contributed a lot.
It absolutely is. But for a program like North Catholic to really start getting some nice victories over some higher class opponents and more developed programs that North Catholic has. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive, and it's a good sign for the program.
Definitely. When you first started a couple years ago, or when, it's hard to build up. These players are getting more and more experience. Seniors are now leading the way. Seniors and juniors leading the way. I mean, they probably first joined. Maybe they haven't wrestled before. But now Coach Law's been able to teach them over the last couple years. Now they're winning some matches. Hopefully they can stack some wins here towards the end of the regular season.
And especially better when you can get wrestlers that can make the weights, and you have enough wrestlers to have to be in a lot of those matchups that the other schools have the ability to be in. And now let's talk about your North Catholic varsity hockey team. And Ryan, you're on the team. Been a pretty impressive year so far, as the team is well in position to go far in the playoffs. As they're number 1 in the division over Moon North Hills, Chartiers Valley, and they are number 2 in the conference. So talk about the season so far.
Yeah, we've had a great season, a rough start. 12-3-2 overall isn't bad. Of course, we'd like to have all those wins, but it's not always going to happen. But there's a couple points that we left out there, especially against Chartiers Valley and Westmont Hilltop, who we both lost in overtime there. And, of course, the bad game against Greensburg Southern, which is a team we probably should have beaten. But 26 points in second in the standings right now. Hopefully we're able to hold on to that. If we win out our last 3 games, we should be in a pretty good spot to get that second seed. Us, Quaker Valley, and Norwin competing for that. Quaker, I think, is 2 or 3 games in hand. They have to play Fox Shop when they have some tougher games after that as well. So if we win out, we should be in a good spot for the second seed.
Absolutely. And here to talk about that is the varsity head coach, Mr. Jonathan Hoffman. And we're here with North Catholic varsity head coach, Mr. Jonathan Hoffman. Mr. Hoffman, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. So far this year, your team is 12-3-2, and you're number 1 in the division, number 2 in the conference right now. So what have you liked from your team so far this year?
There's a lot to like from what we've put together. We've had good stretches throughout the year where we've been very solid defensively. We had a stretch of games where we were holding opponents to 3 goals or less, and you can do that in our league. You can definitely win a lot of games with the offensive production we're able to put up. Our leading scorers right now, and senior Tay Malis leading our team with 29 points, and then right behind him is your counterpart here, and Ryan Berry with 8 goals and 11 assists. Yeah, he's having a good year, sophomore year. So, we work hard. We're strong on the forecheck, and we like to play our game from down low. I'm sure Ryan gets tired of hearing me say that, playing from below the goal line. But when we're 5-on-5, we're a strong force on the ice and tough for teams to keep up with us.
What would you say has to be improved over the next couple regular season games?
I don't want to steal words from Penguins coach Mike Sullivan, but he's lately been on the guys for the Penguins about playing a little loose. I think we might have fallen into some of that category simply because of how well we've been playing recently, finding wins, even in games where we haven't had our best, where we can start to gloss over a little of the small details that have made us successful. So it's just a return to basics, return to playing within our structure of our 1-2-2 forecheck, stronger defensive zone, looking for the smart, simple plays, keeping the game simple. For us is where we're at our best, and obviously staying 5-on-5.
I've had the opportunity to watch the team evolve as years gone on. I've been doing the home games. I watch the away games whenever we see it. But I think something that I've observed this year, I don't know if you've seen the same thing, was at the beginning of the year, especially like the first couple games, it was a tough start for the team. Got a couple losses early in the season, but haven't had a lot since, especially in regulation. But it was more of a skate the puck up the ice, one person, a little bit more of me, not we kind of hockey. Have you seen that turn into a little more unselfish hockey from your guys this year?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you look at our stat lines, there are guys up and down the lineup that have points. And if you rely on one or two guys to play and carry the team, you're not going to find overall success. I mean, if you look at our program, you look at the boys and girls basketball teams and how they play as well, like, it's across the board here in how we try to play the game, whether it's on the ice or on the basketball court or anywhere. But, it takes a group effort. And, for us, and I we'll keep saying to the team over and over again, we're a unit of 5 on the ice when we're playing. Whoever jumps on the ice, whatever line's out there, it's a unit of 5, and we're going together. And if not buying into that, only leads to us struggling. You got to play together. You got to work for one another, communication, strong play and puck support. That's where we find ourselves to be strong.
13 seniors on the team this year. And where does that fall in terms of how they've really been contributing to the team this year? And does that have any more pressure on the team this year to perform with the current group right now, considering you're going to be losing a lot of players next season?
Graduating 13 seniors from our active roster is both exciting as a program to see where we've come, but also very scary for a coach to try and have to replace that next year. But when you look at our group of seniors this year, most of them have been around since sophomore year when we went varsity for the first time. So this group, I feel, feels a little bit added pressure to try and reach the ultimate goal of a Penguins Cup because they realize this is their last chance at it. Our first year, which was their sophomore year, we went 17-2-1, finished second overall that year as well, but ran into a really strong TJ team, and we saw what they were able to do the last couple years. And this group of seniors recognizes that's what they want to do. They want to be the team that's the last one standing. So they feel that pressure, I believe, and they're not letting it get to themselves. They're letting it be a motivating factor in everything that we're doing, whether it's on the ice or practice, whether we're in the gym on Wednesdays together. They know what they're working towards.
When you look at the current playoff race right now, you have a nice little lead here in the division. Another win here, there, another loss from Moon should be locked up pretty soon. But in terms of the conference race, you want to be in the top 2 spots right now. That's the goal. Basically number 2 because Fox Chapel's far and away going to be that number 1. But what else do you feel like the team has to do to be able to clinch that spot and to feel comfortable in having a firm grasp on the playoffs?
Yeah, so there's 3 regular season games left for us, and it's a combination of 3 points, whether it's us winning to get that or a couple teams losing in our division. But that would, secure the division for us. But ultimately, it comes back to controlling what we control, and the controllables for us in the game, and that's playing within our system. Back to our forecheck, back to our defensive zone, making sure we're taking care of the little things that we can focus on as a team. Is where we're gonna, work for the next month to button up before playoffs start in March. But it's a matter of us hitting our stride at the right time, where we've been doing that and continuing on that and working together to do it.
And my last question for you is about the new rivalry game that you have scheduled at the Hunt Armory on February the 2nd, Groundhog Day against Central Catholic. And it's a big one, Coach. It's a big one.
It is. It's an exciting time to bring this game back. The two teams we haven't played Central in over 15 years, so it's great to reignite this rivalry, but to also do it for a good cause. We're playing the game during Catholic Schools Week, and the way this game came about was the players between us and the players at Central Catholic talking, because some of them play on amateur teams together outside of the high school programs, and thought it'd be fun to play a game. And there's a player's idea is to make it for charity. But the game itself is going to be played at the Hunt Armory in Shadyside. So it's a historic building that the Penguins have transitioned to a community ice rink. So it's the first time there's been an indoor community rink in the city of Pittsburgh in over 25 years. So, why not bring a rivalry for high school hockey back in that area and do it? And the game itself, all proceeds from the game are going to go to benefiting Catholic education in the diocese. Since we're playing this game during Catholic Schools Week, we thought it was a fitting choice and a great way to showcase both of our programs and what athletic opportunities are available to kids in the diocese as they come up through.
Is this something that you want to have as a annual thing?
That's the intent. In talking with the head coach at Central Catholic, Bill Connolly, that's our idea. We would like to make this game an annual event during Catholic Schools Week and see what we can do with it each and every year. Maybe expand it, maybe make it a little showcase tournament. Who knows? But this was a good starting point and something we've thrown together really quickly to make it happen, because we both conveniently had open spots in our schedules to fit this game in.
That's perfect, and we wish you the best of luck in that game. I wish you two the best of luck, because Ryan, you'll be in those games. The best of luck in that game, and the best of luck the rest of the year, Coach.
No, thanks a lot, Alex. It's just a side note. It's awesome to have you guys. You're there calling the games for us, and you'll be on the call for that game at Central Catholic. So, best of luck to you too.
Thank you. It's been my honor to do that, and thank you very much. And you just heard from Mr. Hoffman, the varsity hockey head coach. And that's about all we got for this episode of your North Catholic Athletics podcast. As we head into the second half of the winter sports season, as we get close to playoffs, and we'll have a playoff preview before the playoffs start, as we recap what happened at the end of the regular seasons for each one of these sports, and we'll set you up for the playoffs. And Ryan, pleasure doing this with you as always.
Yet another good one. Remember, we're your one-stop podcast for everything North Catholic athletics.